Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sparking Innovation, Middle Eastern Flavors Meet Next Generation Menus. Today we have a couple of amazing students joining us from our Hyde Park campus. We have, I'm going to let them on right now. It might just take just a moment. Okay. We have Abdulrahman Issa, and who's the president of the Global Spoon Club in Hyde Park. And we also have Neel Kajale joining us, and he's the treasurer of that club. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you?
Thank you.
We're so pleased to have you joining us. I guess, can you give us a little bit of background on yourselves? Tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Abdulrahman Issa. I'm from Syria. I was born and raised in Kuwait. I started my food blog on Instagram platform 5 years ago, and this is how I fell in love with the food world. Then I decided to go to the CIA after my high school graduation. I'm in my last semester and my associate degree in culinary arts. I'm in a restaurant, the Italian restaurant on campus called Caterina. Yeah, thank you. I have the initial. I'm willing to do culinary science as a bachelor degree after my graduation and associate degree. Yeah, that's about it.
Hi everyone, my name is Neel. I'm from Mumbai. I'm 24 years old. For me, coming to the CI was always a dream, and being here right now, living it, is almost surreal for me. To give you a brief introduction about myself, I worked in a couple of restaurants back in India, in Mumbai, for about 3 years before I decided to come and pursue an associate's degree in culinary arts at the CIA. I completed my externship at 11 Madison Park in New York City. Interestingly, Issa and I were in the same start batch on the same start date. So we're both in the same part of the program right now. We're both in restaurants right now. And I'm in the back of house at Caterina while he's in the front of the house. And I don't plan on pursuing a bachelor's from here. I'm just excited to graduate so that I can start working in the industry and get back to some real food.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. Okay, great. So I was wondering, can you give us a little background on the Global Spoon Club and what you guys are about and what you hope to achieve?
Yeah, so Global Spoon Club is a club that started by the International Student Affairs Office here on CIA campus, the New York campus. It's a collective union of international students, domestic students from different states, different countries, to promote their own unique culture, knowledge, and learn about others. So, yeah.
What I saw at the CIA was, as cliched as it sounds, but the CI is literally a melting pot of cultures. We have students from almost every country that you can even think of. And what I saw was everyone from their own country were hanging out in pockets. Like if the Indian students were hanging out with the Indian students, the Korean students were hanging out with the Korean students. So I saw there was not a lot of gelling that was happening amongst the different cultures. So the Global Spoons Club was more about trying to get everyone to intermingle with each other and try to be a little more updated about other people's cuisines and cultures rather than just being comfortable and complacent with their own. I don't think I could have had a better opportunity to learn more about Syrian culture than if I hadn't met Issa, or I don't think I would have known so much about Korean culture and Korean food if I hadn't met Korean students in the Global Spoons Club. So the basics or the crux of the Global Spoon Club was basically just to get to know other people's cultures and cuisines better, because that's what we're here for, right? At the CIA, to learn more about food, and not just about the food that the CIA teaches you, but about food that everyone in the world eats and everyone in the world is eating right now. So that was the basic idea of the Global Spoon Club.
Oh, that's amazing. We have someone who wants to join us, so I'm going to try to bring them up right now. Let's see. Sasha, hopefully, maybe not. Okay. Okay. Well, okay. So you guys, I think today you're going to show us a couple of different dishes that inspire you. And and so I think we were going to start, Issa, with your dish.
Yes. We're going to start by the dish called sheikho, called the mahashi. It's there is the different names for the same dish, but there is different varieties to make the dish.
Okay, great.
And this is it.
Great. Okay, let's roll the video and might take a couple seconds. Okay. And so what inspired you to like, what is it about that dish that you love?
I grew up eating this dish, and I want to inspire everyone and let them know that yogurt can be cooked, and it's actually delicious when you cook yogurt, because most people, they'll be like, yogurt eaten raw or like cold. So this is why I chose this video to show to everyone.
Okay, great. Here we go.
رح نعمل كوسة باللبن بسموه أبلمة وأحمد.
بحب الصلصة اللي يطلع شيء. في صحن في عيش.
حطينا اللحم، بقدونس.
وملح وفلفل أسود بس الدرسي.
معلقة سمنة.
وخلط.
أحشيهم.
نملح الماء شوي.
وننزل الكوسة.
خليهم يطبخون على النار. في جدر ثاني بدون نار. كيلو روب.
معلقة نشا، معلقة ليمون.
فصين ثوم.
ملح حسب الذوق. على البارد نقدر نضوي النار. رح تضل تشتي لما يغلي. يلا بقى.
نتناوب.
استراحة المحاربين.
نسكر النار على الروب. نحمر الصنوبر. نحط الكوسة باللبن. خليهم يطبخون على نار هادية. نفس الزيت أحط زبدة.
ثوم. حطينا شوية نعناع. أوكي، طلعت ريحة الثوم، القدحة.
نصبت فوق الكوسة. نجيبهم صحن.
غولين عم بياكلوا. حبيبتي شلونك؟ شو اخبارك؟ احمد مش طيبه؟
الروب عجيب.
Okay. That looks delicious. So, so why don't you tell us a little bit more about that dish? So they were stuffing some sort of squash?
Yeah, it's a zucchini. We call it kusa back home. It's the small zucchini. We prefer to use the small ones because the bigger ones, even when you empty it from the inside with the tool that was shown in the video, it will be harder, and the flavor of the zucchini will be more watery if it's bigger. So we initially choose the smaller ones. In this video, they boil it. They boil the zucchini. Usually you fry it. So you stuff it, you fry it, then you put it in the cooked yogurt sauce. It's stuffed usually with minced or grounded lamb meat. The yogurt sauce should be started cold and added the cornstarch to it so it doesn't lump when you are cooking it. And you have to keep whisking it during the cooking. So this is the hardest point or the technique that this dish acquire. And the thing on top, they did in a small saute pan, they sauteed mint, garlic, and with some ghee. And usually you put the pine nuts, which is on the top of it. So we toast everything in ghee. Then we remove it from the ghee, we strain it from the ghee, and we put it on top of the dish. And we reheat the ghee again until it's smoking. So when you put it on top as a presentation, it should sizzle with a yogurt sauce. So it's a nice way of presentation, and will just keep your mouth watering when you see all of this show happening in front of you.
Oh, wow. Hey, what are some of the things that you would like people to understand about like Middle Eastern food, I guess, because, you guys talk about introducing it to other students and the population, but, what are some of the key things that you think are important to know?
Personally, I think we should stop generalizing each cuisine. Let's say the Mediterranean cuisines, people always think about falafel and feta cheese and pita. And this is not what it's all about. Like there's many dishes that can be made without using these ingredients, because in the States, the most time I would see like they mix things up by just adding falafel or feta cheese or pita, and they will just call it Mediterranean just because adding these few ingredients. My point of view is like we have so many dishes. We just need to let the people or the world know more about it.
Okay, so we have a question from Chella, I think. It's she says there are several types of commercial yogurt available in the U.S., Greek, high protein, fat-free, etc. Is there a style of yogurt you would recommend for this dish?
Usually the yogurts here in the States are kind of thick. So usually if I'm cooking something from back home here in the States using the ingredients that are found here in the States, I'll just blend the yogurt in a Vitamix or like a blender so it will loosen up a little bit. Any kind of yogurt is good and tastes fine as long as you add some acidity, which is a lime juice, and garlic, salt, to adjust the seasoning and the flavor to make it taste like more Mediterranean.
Okay, great. And then I think, Neel, you have a video also that we're going to show. Yeah. And then there's another quick question for you, Issa. It's is there a lot of meat used in Middle Eastern cuisine, or would you describe it as more plant forward?
Actually, it's we use a lot of meat. Yeah, that's true. But if we are using meat back home, we use more lamb instead of beef. In the Levant area, we eat more vegetarian food. Let's say hummus, for example. This is a basic example I can give. In Lebanon, Syria, Palestine, Jordan, there is more varieties or kind of dishes that are more vegetarian or vegan, rather than in the Gulf countries, which is like Dubai, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Emirates, and Bahrain.
Okay, great. And then this is, hey, Neel, this is your video. Do you want to do a little quick intro?
Sure. As the name suggests, palak paneer, if I had to translate it, spinach and cheese. And this is such a classical combination in the world of cooking. It's just one of those marriages made in heaven, like basil and tomato, mushrooms and thyme. Be it any cuisine, be it even Italian cuisine, you have ricotta and spinach that goes into a ravioli. And this is just our Indian version of combining these two ingredients together, spinach and cheese. And I feel this is such a popular dish in the United States, where everyone knows it as saag paneer, as they call it. But what's eaten here is completely different from how it's actually made and how it actually tastes. So as the recipe says, on the top, if you can see, it says perfect Punjabi style palak paneer, because this is it. This is as authentic and this is as original as it gets. And I'm not going to take too much time, and I would rather have everyone see how this dish is actually made.
Okay, great. Here we go. Okay, now it's not fair because you're making me hungry.
I'm already salivating. So yeah.
Yeah, that is like one of my favorite dishes. So I think what are, when we talk about different cuisines, I think what are some of the key or unique cooking methods that you see that are used for your home cuisines?
Like I prefer, like talking about the dish we just saw right now, there was so many techniques in that I saw that we learn here at the CIA, but we don't talk about it when we are making Indian food. Like simple techniques, like after you blanch the spinach, you immediately shocked it in ice water. We don't talk about it back home, but this is something that's emphasized so much at school, that in order to retain, in order to stop it from overcooking, in order to retain the fresh green color, you immediately shock it in ice water. Like these are techniques, stuff like, as I just saw a question right now, except for the wheat flour, is that a weird widespread technique for this dish? As we often put some sort of starch in a gravy or in a sauce to thicken it. This is exactly what we did, because the spinach, what happens is if we overcook spinach, it's going to lose a lot of water, and we want a nice coating consistency on the sauce. So we add a little bit of flour to kind of thicken the sauce and to keep it intact and to keep it nice and to have a nice viscosity to the dish. So there's so many techniques that we saw in the dish that are often not spoken about with regards to Indian cuisine, because everyone thinks it's just a hodgepodge of spices going in one big pot and cooking for 6 straight hours. But Indian cuisine also can be extremely technical and can be extremely precise, and does need a lot of precision. So.
Okay, great. And then so what are some of the so when you guys talk about flavors in the next generation menus, like what are some of the bridge ingredients that you guys see from your cuisines that would make it easier to introduce them to somebody else? When you talk about like the Global Spoon Club, how do you guys introduce new flavors to people and get them excited?
So we had an event, for example, last semester. We had a student from Mexico. She brought some kind of chilies from Mexico, and she wanted to share like chili tasting with the students of the member of the club. And she was more than welcome to share the chilies, and we did the chili tasting. So this is just for a small example of what can be shared. And some students, they bring their own food ingredients from back home because they can't find it in the States. So that was actually very beneficial for the students to know more about ingredients. Like for me, I brought some halwa from back home, which is a halawa. We call it halawa here. It's a paste of tahini and sesame seeds, and I did the tasting out of it. So this is what the Global Spoon is like, to share more ingredients, dishes with other students, and sometimes we do live videos.
Yeah. Talking about ingredients that we use to kind of familiarize people with our cuisine. For example, I find so many stark similarities between Indian cuisine and Mexican cuisine. Just the way it's cooked, a nice spicy grilled piece of meat, the flavors, rice, beans, like we use yellow lentils, but Mexicans use beans and rice. So we're trying to play on similarities and then slowly bridge into our cuisine. In Indian cuisine and Mexican cuisine use 2 spices that are so popular and so common to each other, like coriander powder and cumin powder. Like both of these spices, the way they're used, can completely alter or completely change the way you see, or can completely set the tone between the 2 cuisines. For example, just talking about this dish or for any other dish, for example, if we were doing like a nice, for example, refried beans. Refried beans is so similar to something that we have, which we call rajma. It's exactly that. It's exactly what refried beans are. And refried beans are used in, say, it could be used in a quesadilla, it could be used in a burrito, and we eat rajma with paratha, or we eat it with rice. So there's so many similarities between the two cuisines, and everyone here at the CIA already has a fair idea about international cuisine. They already have some sort of fair idea about food of the different cultures, but they're just not quite abreast and quite, they're not quite updated as to how it's authentically and how it's traditionally done. So at the Global Spoons Club, what we're trying to do is we're trying to teach people that this is what it actually is, and what you have been eating so far is extremely good also, but this is how it's actually done and how it actually should be done, so that when people graduate from the CI, when students graduate from the CI, they have a fair understanding about what authentic is and what non-commercial is. So that's exactly what we're trying to do.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, it's probably just wonderful to actually have someone who grew up with those foods to like say, hey, this is what I grew up. This is how my grandma made it, or this is how we've been making it for generations. Yeah. But there's one more quick question, but I was going to say that, the main stage is now open. And so for the audience, that you can click on the tab on the left side for the stage and go to the main stage. But Lori has a quick question. So she says, I know we're running out of time. How do you think the classical cuisine training in culinary schools should be changed to redirect the focus to a more Eurocentric one? So you got 1 minute.
I don't think it should be. Honestly, in my opinion, as someone who's in a culinary school and the best culinary school in the world, I don't think it should be changed for the simple reason that everything that we see, for example, in a Eurocentric cuisine or progressive cuisine, it's all come from classic cuisine. Like if you don't know your classics or if you don't know your basics well, you'll never be able to improvise to go on to the modern or to go to something that's more modern or that's more progressive, or as they call it, avant-garde these days. I don't think you can do that if you don't know your basics. So definitely it's extremely imperative that we eventually focus on the Eurocentric one. And I think that should be done, but I think that should be done at a later stage in the education program, because I definitely felt so that when I came to the CIA, when I was in my fundamentals, which is the first class at the school, I thought that why are we learning, why are we still making a hollandaise on a double boiler? Why aren't we doing it the way they do it in the restaurants? Why aren't we just putting it in a Vitamix? Why aren't we putting in a little bit of stabilizer and making an emulsion last longer? And then as and when I slowly and gradually went ahead in the program, I realized that if I don't know how to make a hollandaise the traditional way, I'll never be able to improvise and make it in a Vitamix the way it's done in the restaurants today. So as important as it is to eventually focus on newer techniques or Eurocentric techniques, I definitely think that you need to know your basics first, and you need to know your foundation, or your edifice has to be really strong so that one day you can improvise and go ahead with something else.
I want to add one more thing. This is why the CIA offers an advanced cooking bachelor degree, because once you have the associate degree and you have the basic, the fundamentals, then you can get the advanced cooking bachelor degree by adding more knowledge to what you already have been taught in your associate degree. So this is wonderful. This is a very nice question. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is an awesome question.
Okay. Well, thanks, you guys. I'm going to have to end the session so everyone can head to the main stage. And I just want to thank you so much for joining us. It's been just a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you so much.
And I hope to see you guys there pretty soon.
Thank you so much. Have a good day, everyone.
Have a good day.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.